Asylum influx as more than 50 relatives of asylum seekers arrive in Britain every day. And the government's looking for ways to slap millions of people with a TV licence, even if they don't ordinarily need one. These are the sort of headlines that you might see, and some people, when I refer to headlines, accuse me of taking one particular narrative and taking that stance and not doing any research. But I assure you I do the research, and I look behind these headlines and I look at what they mean. So I'll give you an example in this video as to where these headlines come from. Because two of these headlines, one of them from The Telegraph, more than 50 relatives of asylum seekers arrive in Britain every day, and from The Sun, asylum influx, again, more than 50 relatives of refugees are allowed to join them in Britain every day, with the numbers trebling in a year. And out of control, Britain has too many migrants to keep track of, etc. So these headlines are obviously there to attract your attention. Shock, horror, the headlines are there to get you to click the article to read it. Now, I make no criticism of The Sun or The Telegraph or anybody else for that matter, whatever your political stance, left or right or somewhere in between. I think most people are somewhere in between, to be perfectly honest, and some of you may hold views that swing left or right. Regardless, let's have a look at what's behind these headlines. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shansmith, the Barrister of England and Wales, and I am objective and neutral, even if what I say sometimes that backs up the things that I say and the headlines that I show you appear to be somewhat one-sided. That is not me being one-sided. That is me proving to you that the point that I make is backed up with evidence and some sort of statistics, official statistics, usually, because that's what I usually look at. For example, the other day somebody said that the letters from schools were all fake, and that schools were not writing out to parents to warn them that there are men hanging around by their schools taking photographs of their children. Well, when I read headlines like that, I do go back to the official school websites and look for their newsletters, and I found some of those letters, and they are official letters from the school. So if you like this neutral, objective, but rather blunt approach to what's really going on, please do subscribe to the channel. I depend on you, the viewer, because without you, my channel wouldn't be here. I decided during lockdown to create this channel to smash down the barriers, to help people understand law, and that's what I'm doing to this day. So these headlines, they are outlandish headlines. They are designed to grab your attention, and to some degree they are designed to get certain people annoyed by it, so they'll read the article. This is not new. Ironically, this is not news. They've done this for a long time. So let's take a look at these headlines here that claim that more than 50 relatives of asylum seekers every day arrive in Britain. Now let's do the whole balancing act first, because I personally know and have known some refugees over the years. I know some to this day who their families have fled war zones, and they've been persecuted, they've been tortured, they've arrived here by some means, and some of them not necessarily legal means, but they've arrived here, they've sought protection, they work damn hard, they contribute to society, and some of them are the most selfless people I've ever known. And so there are many people in that situation that do come here, and we should support, and I think that's right. And so there are many people that will still be in that category that will do that. On the other hand, there are some that are purely coming here for economic reasons and the handouts. Let's be perfectly honest, that's what I think some of them are here for. And if that's the way the system works and they're taking advantage of it, they are doing the best for them. But if we as a nation don't accept that, then the rules need to change. That is not for me to say, not for me to decide. That is for the government to decide. And the way we get the government is people vote in the government that they think will make the decisions that best aligns with their wishes and their views. That's why we have general elections. Now, without getting bogged down too much into the politics, because the law and politics do overlap, that is how things change. So, caveats and balancing act out of the way, let's take a look at the facts behind this. So this claims that 50 relatives of asylum seekers arrive in Britain every day. So where does that come from? Well, cutting to the chase, it comes from official statistics from the Home Office under family reunion statistics on this page here. How many people come to the UK? This is no secret. This is just not written in such a headline fashion that some of the newspapers are, because obviously they want people to read their newspapers. How many people, this says from the Home Office, come to the UK via safe and legal humanitarian routes? Because coming by an unsafe route on a boat across the Channel is obviously not a legal, normal route to arrive in the UK. That is what they call irregular or otherwise illegal immigration into the UK. And then, of course, when here, they claim asylum. How many people come across to the UK via safe and legal humanitarian routes, which includes, as it says here, Ukrainian scheme visas, British national overseas visas, resettlement schemes, family reunion visas, etc. So the bit we need to look at here is the family reunion visas, which allow the families of refugees in the UK to join them. So when we jump down to the family reunion section, it says here, quite transparently, in the year ending September 2024, 19,154 people were granted family reunion visas, half of whom it should really say were children. If we're talking about the visas, then half of which would be correct. If it's talking about the children, half of whom should be correct, because it is a person that we're talking about here. Now, if we divide 19,154 into 365 days per year, lo and behold, that is 52 and a bit per day. So the headlines are strictly correct. Under family reunion visas, those are under a legal and humanitarian route. Family reunion visas, which allow the families of refugees in the UK to join them, 19,000 odd arrive, which equates to 52 per day. So the headlines are correct, even though they write it in a fairly outlandish way. You may or may not agree with the way that that's written. If you don't agree with it, you probably won't read The Sun. But it's a bit like people criticising my videos and yet they still watch my videos. It's a little bit strange, that. But a comment I had this morning said, "You've designed this to make people watch it." And I thought, what a strange comment to make. I've designed this to make people... Yeah, of course I've designed this to make people to watch it. I mean, I don't make my videos so that no one watches them. I make my videos so that more people watch them. And I ask you to subscribe and to share. And that's how YouTube spreads my videos to a wider audience. I'm doing these videos to help people understand. So regardless whether you like the way these headlines are drafted or not, I mean, clearly that's designed to alarm and annoy, perhaps, to make you read the article, but that's not for me to criticise. Even courts will say, in fact, courts have recently said in a judgment, which I will be coming to talk about, the court usually is not really concerned with editorial judgment as to how these headlines and articles and other things are drafted or spoken, if it's by way of video. So you may not agree with that or not, but that is absolutely true. So that's one headline proven true. Now, in a moment, we're going to talk about is the government looking at ways of slapping the TV license on millions more people, because that's another headline people have challenged. So that's coming up in a moment, but don't go away. As a brief aside, and as I like to bring you value on this channel, at least I aim to at least, allow me no more than 2 minutes to tell you about a great company I work with that also brings you great value. Now, we can all complain about our mobile phone connectivity when we're out and about, but that can only be worse when you're abroad or you're traveling somewhere. And that brings about a company that I work with called Asylum, which is affordable eSIM data that works seamlessly with your phone. You download the app, you buy a plan, and it will activate automatically and connect when you arrive. Seamless internet, no physical card to send out to you. And because it's brought to you by NordVPN, it comes along with all of the security features that you might expect. Virtual location, ad blockers, web protection, malware protection. Connecting to public Wi-Fi networks is dangerous enough as it is because of the risk of hijacking, let alone when you're traveling internationally and you've no idea where you are or how safe it is. But as I say, this comes with safety features built in. There is even a package available for business if you have employees and you want to keep them all connected while they're traveling around. It's available now in over 190 countries for easy and safe internet access. Of course, I get you a discount, which is 15% off any plan that you buy through Asylum, but you don't have to buy straight away. You can download the app so that it's ready if and when you next travel, so you can easily get a plan for when you arrive. You just enter the code BlackBeltBarrister at the checkout and it will apply the discount for you to any plan you choose to buy. So no need to delay, download the app today so it's ready for when you next travel and you'll get affordable, safe, secure and seamless internet access. And thank you to Asylum for sponsoring this video. And so now back to TV licensing, and I referenced this headline on X and I can't remember where, but somebody criticized it and said that's not what they said, but let's have a look and let's see exactly what they did say. So the headline says, BBC licence fee could be extended as Labour considers slapping Netflix users with TV tags. Now, let's just pause for a moment. The reason that is so controversial is Netflix. I think they do some live shows. I've certainly not watched any live shows, but Netflix, from my understanding, is predominantly an on-demand subscription service. You have an account, you pay a monthly fee, and you watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. That is an on-demand service, and for the avoidance of doubt, you do not need a TV license for on-demand service. Much like YouTube, much like Amazon Prime, unless Amazon Video, whatever it's called, unless it is live TV, and that is only that which comes from a live TV broadcast company, which, confusingly enough, is not necessarily one that has a broadcast license. It's just there's no real definition. The TV licensing office, when I contacted them, did not give me, and refused or could not give me, a definitive answer as to which companies this would apply to. They just said that for the vast majority of YouTube independent creators, such as me, if I do a live stream, you would not need a license to watch my live content. So that's where the controversy is with Netflix, because it's predominantly an on-demand service. Most people, I think, would say, well, no, I don't want to pay a TV license just because I watch Netflix. And in fact, you'd be right for the broad sense in law, because it doesn't support that. And recently I think there was a live show and the TV licensing office said, well, you will need a TV license to watch this live show because it's live TV in their view. That is up for debate, and frankly, that would be for a court to decide. And unless the court considered Netflix a TV broadcast company within the legislation, then that conviction would fall away. But as I say, that'd be for a court to decide. The only way that would ever really get decided is if someone was prosecuted for watching a live show on Netflix. They were prosecuted for not having a TV license, and they appealed, and potentially that found its way all the way to the Court of Appeal as by way of a question of law, and the Court of Appeal made a ruling on it. That's the only way that would absolutely definitively get decided. Unless, of course, the government changes the law, which is where we're going to come to in just a moment. But that's where the controversy lies with Netflix. Now, let's get back to the headline and what it says, what it claims. It says, BBC licence fee could be extended as Labour considers slapping Netflix users with TV tags. And it goes on to say, Sir Keir Starmer's government's considering making people who only use streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus pay the BBC licence fee. This forms part of plans to modernise the way it funds the broadcaster. And I think, in short, because there is question marks over whether it's really going to survive, because all of these other services are, in many people's view, better, and perhaps that's the way that it should be done. Anyway, apparently, Keir Starmer's office, the Treasury, and Department for Culture, Media, Sport are all discussing the idea to extend the fee to those who use these streaming websites. Other options being considered include allowing the BBC to run ads. Why not? The reason they've not done that is because they wanted to be impartial. But they've come under scrutiny just recently, and they've had to apologise because when they were doing a piece on the Holocaust, they just referred to people rather than Jews, and then they had to apologise for it because they didn't. Somebody must have signed off on that, and so frankly, I don't think that was impartial. I think whoever wrote that and signed off on that, or whatever, I think that was a very, very poor judgment, and they apologised for it. So there are question marks over that anyway, at the very least. These discussions are still ongoing, and those involved have asked to remain anonymous. So it's an anonymous tip-off to GB News that these are the things that they are discussing. They are discussing whether or not they'll slap this onto Netflix and things like that. The government's in the early stages of reviewing how to fund the BBC after its current 11th charter expires in 2027. Considering whether to keep it as it is, make changes to it, replace it, or alternative funding models like taxation or subscriptions or whatever. And so ultimately, they are looking for ways to fund this. Now, if one of those ends up being Netflix, I can absolutely see that being open to challenge. And I'll tell you why. Because even if, with the law as it is, the rules as they are, even if you had BBC iPlayer on your system and you only watched S4C, and I will Google right now, and I will pull up right now the TV licensing website here. This will prove my point. If you only had BBC iPlayer on your system for the purposes of watching S4C programs, and that was all you did, and a court accepted that as your evidence, then you are not committing an offence. Because, as it says on their own website here, if I zoom in so you can see it nice and clearly, I might need to move it around so you can see it clearly, a license is not needed to watch S4C programs on demand. It would be if it was BBC content, or any other kind of live TV content. And so, I mean, you could still need a TV license if you don't have a TV. You know, you could watch it on your iPad or any other kind of tablet, whatever. But it's only if it's live TV. Now, here's why I say this is a problem. If you and I can see where this might be going. I can see them saying, right, let's contact Netflix and get a list of everyone who's got an account with Netflix. And all of those must need a TV license, is what they might conclude. But that is not evidence that you're committing the offence of watching or recording live TV without a license, a TV license, unless they change the law. Because if they changed the law to say you have to have a license to watch on-demand programs, that would literally mean everybody then, even if you just watch me on YouTube, would arguably need a TV license if it stretched to that, unless they specified Netflix or they specified various services. But that is absolutely ridiculous. But that is a potential route that this government might go down. And at the moment, nothing would surprise me, because on the one hand, they think that encouraging businesses to grow and employ more people is going to happen by slapping them with more tax to employ people. It's just such a ridiculous logic, but there we go. That's what this might be. That's the only way I can see this possibly becoming true. Now, my prediction, I would never encourage anybody to break the law, and whatever the law is, I would encourage people to comply with it, because obviously I'm a barrister and my advice to people would be don't break the law. But what I can predict is if they then say, well, everyone that uses Netflix has got to have a license, one of two things or a combination of those things will happen. Firstly, if they do slap the TV license onto Netflix users, a lot of people will cancel Netflix. So that's obviously not a good thing for the economy. Secondly, a lot of people will just ignore it. And so the evasion rates, as they call it, will go up, because a lot of people that only watch Netflix and don't have a TV license will probably say, well, I would just rather take my chances. I'm not paying for the TV license just because I watch Netflix, is what a lot of people might say. I stress and I reiterate, I am not encouraging people to break the law. I could not encourage people to break the law. But I suspect that's what people will do. There are clearly lots of people that don't pay it and do watch live TV, and they get prosecuted for it, etc. So this is only going to grow. If they do slap it on Netflix users, a lot of people that only watch Netflix will probably then say, well, I'm not paying it out of principle. So those are my predictions, and I think that's ridiculous. I think there are far better ways of doing it. Subscription models, pay-on-demand models, whatever. There's lots of different ways of doing it, and I think this is quite a silly way of doing it. Obviously, this is just anonymously reported to GB News. They've reported on it, and it is what it is. But these sources have asked to remain anonymous. But I mean, it's no doubt that they are considering different funding mechanisms, and this could well be one of them. It's just not going to be a very popular one. So if they want to ensure that even more people don't vote for this government, then that's one route that they could go down. But there are my thoughts. That's how it might work. If you do like my videos, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you hit the notification bell, you get pings when I do new videos. You don't have to watch them all, I understand, but if you do that, it does help YouTube. It does help me. So thank you very much for doing that. And as always, thank you for watching.